Hello and welcome to day 3 of Mr. Mackenzie's 30-day music challenge. Today's challenge is to make a game of snakes and ladders. There you go. But it's not just going to be a normal game of snakes and ladders, it needs to be a musical game of snakes and ladders. So how are you going to do this? You might have your own ideas. I've got a few as well which I'll share with you, but I'd really like to see some creative responses. So this is a standard game of snakes and ladders. You've got all your squares, you've got ladders that you climb up. If you land on that square, you get to advance higher up the board, and if you land on the snake, it swallows you up and you go all the way down and you come out at the end of its tail. So there you go, that's the game of snakes and ladders. Very, very simple. You just need some paper, a pen, some dice, and you can get going making your own. So, ideas for how to get this game of snakes and ladders to be musical. Well, the first thing that you could do is you could simply put a few musical activities in some of the squares. So maybe if you landed on one, you would sing a song like "Oh, When the Saints Go Marching In," and a different one you could sing the chorus to your favourite song. One of them could be maybe do some beatboxing or find a musical instrument and see if you can play Happy Birthday on it or something like that. So different musical activities. You don't have to have one on every square, but you could if you wanted to. That's the first way that I can think of making this into a musical game of snakes and ladders. The second way I was thinking of making a musical snakes and ladders game was keeping it simple on the board, but making some decks of cards with musical rewards and forfeits. You could also mix in some normal rewards and forfeits as well. This would probably work better if you had quite a lot of snakes and a lot of ladders on your board. Otherwise, you may only get a few done over the course of the game. So, examples of a musical forfeit might be going out into the garden with your pants on your head and singing "I Do Like to Be Beside the Seaside" in a silly high voice. Something that might be a reward, perhaps if you're all listening to music, then the reward could be that you get to choose what music you listen to. The third way that I thought of having a musical snakes and ladders game is one that you could actually use with just one person, and that would be a way of starting off your practice sessions if you learn an instrument. So you could have a look in your practice book at the last targets that your teacher gave you. Things like working on a particular scale, or a couple of bars in the pieces that you're learning, or some aspect of technique, or a short study, or anything like that. All of the short little things that you're asked to work on. And if you just put those in some different boxes on your snakes and ladders game, and then before you do your main practice session, you could quickly play the game, and whichever squares you land on, it's just a nice way of choosing the practice activities that you start off your practice session with. Finally, you could do something similar to the one that I was just saying, except use it more as a way of feeling comfortable performing. So there's a really funny couple of guys called Two Set Violin, and they have the Lingling challenge. Lingling is a fictional virtuoso on the violin who can play all of the hardest pieces twice as fast as everybody else and all of that sort of thing. And the Lingling challenge involves playing pieces in different unexpected ways that can be quite fun. So things like, if you are playing on the violin or anything else that you can hold while standing up, perhaps you could play your piece whilst hopping at the same time. Or you could try and play part of it backwards. Or you could limit yourself in some way, so perhaps only using 2 fingers or something like this. So you could come up with a variety of different ways of making it a little bit harder or a bit interesting to play some of your pieces. Put those on the snakes and ladders board and see how far you can get through before you get exhausted with the sheer level of challenge. Once you've completed this challenge and made your snakes and ladders game, I'd really, really love to see what different ideas people have come up with. So feel free to send me an image of your snakes and ladders game.